Hey everybody, welcome back to Roots and Rights Securing Tomorrow. I'm your host, Attorney Greg Robinson, and today we're digging into something that, well, honestly, it comes up more often than you'd think when I meet with families: estate planning in blended families. Now, if you've listened to previous episodes, you know I always stress communication, but in the world of blended families, that can make or break not just a plan, but sometimes relationships themselves. So why is it so tough? Well, imagine you've got stepkids, maybe kids from a previous marriage on both sides, and suddenly you're all at the same table trying to talk about inheritance or guardianship plans. Stakes are high, right? If that communication goes sideways, it's not just awkward, it's risky. I've seen families tear themselves up over misunderstandings that could have easily been avoided with a few honest conversations up front. Let me share a quick story with y'all. The Jackson family. Names changed, of course. They came to me after a near miss. A misunderstanding between the eldest stepchild and their new sibling almost set off a chain reaction of hurt feelings and, honestly, potential legal chaos. But they did something smart. They just kept talking. The family held regular meetings, not formal sessions, more like casual Sunday dinners, and asked, "What are your expectations? What would you like to see happen?" Let me tell you, it made a difference. By the time we got into the thick of drafting their plan, everyone was already, mostly, on board, and the tension had settled down. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How do you even start a conversation like that? It's not easy. I always recommend folks step away from the pressure of a legal office. Get together somewhere neutral, relaxed, like over dinner, maybe even at home. Use simple language. I want to make sure everyone is treated well and there aren't any surprises. That's way less intimidating than, "Let's discuss our estate division protocol." Try dropping that at a family cookout. But seriously, lowering the stress means more honesty, and that's the gold here. And if you're feeling stuck, it never hurts to bring in a neutral facilitator or advisor. Sometimes that's me, sometimes it's a pastor or family friend. The main thing is, don't wait until something blows up. Open the door to those conversations now. Now let's shift gears just a bit, because once folks start talking, the next speed bump is usually, what's fair? And let me tell you, fair is a loaded word in blended families. People hear a lot about equality, but equity is the real trick. I mean, if you've got, say, stepchildren and biological kids, or kids from prior marriages, just splitting everything down the middle might sound simple, but it can backfire and feel real unfair depending on past contributions or relationships. The Patel family out in Birmingham, another great example. They had step and half siblings, and emotions were running high. Here's where my old consultant side kicked in. We brought in data analytics to model inheritance scenarios, literally plugging in different fairness factors. Things like, who contributed what to the family business? Did someone help care for a parent when times were tough? Or maybe one kid already received a big advance for college and others didn't. We mapped it out so everyone could see the impact of different approaches: equal shares, adjusted for needs, or tributes for past help. What I always find is that emotions and history really color what folks consider fair. Maybe you have a child with special needs, or one that's estranged, or only joined the family in their teens. All that matters. And so, a strategy I lean on is putting expectations on the table at the start. Sometimes that means ongoing check-ins or even family charters, like we talked about in our episode on family governance, just to get everyone on the same page. It's not foolproof. I mean, nobody's perfect. But running those what-if scenarios and letting folks voice their feelings can turn what could be a powder keg into a real conversation. And if you're sitting there worried that the talk will get too emotional, remember, it's way easier to work through those feelings now than to have recipients fight it out later in probate court. Trust me, I've seen both sides, and you want to avoid the latter. All right, so you've got the communication going, and you're doing your best to define fair. Next step is locking it down legally. I can't stress this enough. Blended family situations are where details matter most, and you have to get your legal toolkit in order. I'm talking trusts, prenups, postnups, and double-checking beneficiary designations, because it's just way too easy, seriously, to accidentally disinherit someone you care about. Now, my military days, since y'all know I served with the 1st Cavalry out of Fort Hood, those years drilled into me a real respect for preparation and detail. In estate planning for complex families, it's the same mindset. Plan for every contingency. I've seen cases where updating a life insurance beneficiary or adding a stepchild to a trust changed everything for the better. But I've also seen folks lose out just because a detail got missed after a remarriage or blended birth. Let's break it down. Trusts are great because they let you lay out exactly how and when each beneficiary gets their share. You can even stagger distributions or put conditions in, like education or milestones, to help keep things fair over time. For folks getting remarried, prenups and postnups aren't about distrust. They're honest tools to define who brings what to the marriage and to protect family assets from being unintentionally moved or lost. And don't sleep on those beneficiary forms, on insurance, retirement accounts, because the courts will follow what's written there, even if your will says something else. That's a spot where I see mistakes all the time. The key is working with advisors who know how to ask the right questions and spot potential pitfalls, whether that's legal, financial, or just plain human. By putting your plan together with intention, you're setting up not just paperwork, but the kind of legacy that holds up under real-world pressure. So if you're part of a blended family or advising one, don't leave it to chance. Tie everything together: communication, fairness, and the right legal tools. That's how you keep harmony and protect what matters most, which is exactly what we're about here. We'll keep exploring these complex topics, so thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to catching you in the next episode of Roots and Rights.